Good evening. It is Monday, October 16th. This is the Team Be the Change team call. So I've been listening to some really great personal development lately. And the last month, the Success Club reward for coaches who hit Success Club 6 was a webinar with an author named Hal Elrod, and he wrote The Miracle Morning. And that's something that I've been doing for several months now. I read the book, I think in June of this year, and it's really changed the way that my mornings go, and it's really changed like my mindset and how I get myself together and get myself, excited and fired up in the morning. And it totally sets the tone for my day, which is something that I struggled with for a long time. And so today I wanted to talk about the importance of setting a really clear and meaningful morning routine for yourself. And it doesn't have to be out of the Miracle Morning book, but that's a really good foundation of some of the tools that are available that most of the high performers in any industry use for their morning routine. So this author, Hal, he's got kind of a crazy story. Like, he got in this really bad car accident and had, some really terrible things happen to him. But as he was trying to kind of like recover from that, and later on in his life, he started reading about what people who are, very successful, what are some of the things that they do? What are some of their habits that they do? And morning routines that's something that he found that, 95% of the people did. And so he ended up implementing this with himself. He had really phenomenal success with it. And so he wrote a book about it, and he's got a couple of different ones. There's also one, Miracle Morning for network marketers, which I think would be another really good one that is on my reading list. But the one that I read is just, the Miracle Morning, basically like for everyday life, for anybody to implement. And so I wanted to go through some of those and talk about how I use them, and hopefully this will spark some ideas for how you can start implementing them into your day, because I cannot tell you what a change I have felt. I feel like yes, I am more productive, but at the same time, it's like my mindset is such that I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I'm more productive, but I'm consistently more productive for more of the day, not just for, a couple of hours in the morning. It's really, I sustain that throughout the day. And I totally believe that it has to do with this, morning routine that I've been doing. So there are 6, as a whole, he calls them savers, morning savers, SAVERS. And that's an acronym for these 6 habits that get implemented in the morning. And so each of them has a purpose, and, you can do all of them, you can do some of them, you can do one of them. You have to really find out what works for you. But these 6 habits are really what he has identified, that people who, again, are super productive and extremely high functioning, very high performance people, they implement, at least one of these every day. So the acronym SAVERS includes silence, which is, prayer or meditation. A is for affirmations. V is for visualizations. E is for exercise. R is for reading. And S is for it's for like writing, but to make it fit, it's called scribing, which is, like writing. So the goal is to do, to fit all of these into about an hour. And so the way that he recommends people implement this is to get up an hour earlier than you normally would. and set aside this time specifically for you, like an hour before anybody else in your house gets up, because this is about you and your mindset and your productivity and making this work and happen for you. And so you don't want, obviously people wake up early sometimes, like my child who was up at like 4:45 the other day, which was ridiculous. But I mean, barring unforeseen events, your goal is to have this time set aside for yourself to get you into a mindset where you are better able to tackle the big things on your to-do list. You're in a mindset where you are able to help people better because your emotional cup is full. You're taking time for yourself. You're focusing on you. You're focusing on your goals. You're focusing on your visions. You're focusing on your affirmations and what you say to yourself. And you've prayed about it. You've meditated. You've got some exercise done. Your blood is flowing. You're oxygenating your brain, your heart. All of these things have a purpose. So we'll start with the first one. So S is for silence. And so I do, a lot of people do kind of a combination of prayer and meditation. That's what I do. But, and that can be as long as you need to. I spend about 5 to 10 minutes. And sometimes I use like a guided meditation, and sometimes I just sit quietly and kind of calm my mind. I know for me, first thing in the morning, like I get out of bed and like things just start rolling and I'm like, okay, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. And so I'll write some of those down so that I have them, out of my head and I don't have to think about them. But, brains, they just go. So I'll sit. So the order that I do, I'll go through the order that I do it in. So I get up, I drink my Energize, feed the dogs, and then I go downstairs and I do my workout. And so my workout right now is about 30 minutes. So I spend more than an hour doing this. Well, no, actually that's not true. It varies. I'd like to spend more than an hour doing this, but I usually do it in an hour. So 30 minutes is my workout. I come back upstairs and I have everything set out the night before that I need. So I sit down, I have a chair that I sit in, and I meditate, do my meditation and prayer for about 5 minutes. Then I have my journal. I pull out my journal and I write down some affirmations that I need to tell myself for the day based on wherever it is, whatever mindset that I'm in, whether it's something that I need for my personal life, for my business life, for my relationships. I pick something, maybe 2 or 3 things that I feel like need a little bit of assistance throughout the day to make sure that I'm in a positive mindset for these certain areas of my life. And something really interesting. So in this podcast, or not podcast, the webcast that Beachbody put together, Hal was saying that affirmations have kind of been given a bad name, and it's probably from like Saturday Night Live, where I don't remember the guy's name. He looks in the mirror and he says, I'm going to butcher it, but I'm a good person. This is terrible. Anyway, doggone it, people like me. So that's kind of how people hear about affirmations. And affirmations really are more about telling yourself that you have, it's hard to explain. What I do, and this is the way that I have heard about it, is it's kind of, for me, a combination of visualizing and affirming. So I think about where I want to be, and then my affirmations are my steps to get there. So, visualization is like the big, broad goal of like, what is your vision? Where do you want to be? Like we talked about, last couple of weeks. What are your big, big, big goals? Yes, think about yourself being there. Think about yourself, walking into the door of that house that you built, on the land that you own, with your family, whatever it is that your big dreams are. And then the affirmations are more like the daily steps of how do you get there. So sometimes for me, I'll even go so far as saying something like, um, today I am inviting 10 people to my accountability group, and I'm inviting 5 people to my coaching opportunity group. Making it really succinct and telling yourself these things over time, like your brain starts to believe what you tell it. So which is why negative self-talk is so detrimental, because your brain actually starts to believe that. And why positive, reinforcing of things that are important to you and things that you want to change about yourself, it actually works. It's because your brain doesn't know what's true and what's not. It just knows what you tell it, and it hears everything that you think, obviously. And so, making sure that you practice these positive things is really, it does in fact have, there's basis in like neuroscience and this sort of stuff, which is really cool, which I think is awesome. Um, so anyway, so there's like the affirmations and the visualization. And so I do that next. Then I do a little bit of journaling or reading. Actually, I kind of flip these two around. I don't always do journaling, but I do reading. Reading sometimes kind of gets my journaling creativity going. And sometimes I have time to read more. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's like literally 10 minutes and that's all I have. And then I have to be done and I have to start the day. But when I have a little bit more time, I read a little bit more. I do some kind of reflective journaling on what I've read, take some notes, things like that. And so when you get up in the morning, it's not about trying to do more work in the morning. And I actually just recently realized that I had kind of fallen into that trap where I would get up and I would do my workout and I would like spend a few minutes on the rest of what I was doing for my miracle morning. And then I would be like, oh, great, I've got like 15 minutes. I can get some work done. And that's not the point of this. The point of this is to prepare yourself for your day so that you can be more productive throughout your day and you can be more focused and you can be more, committed. You can be more intent. You can have these, intentional things that you're doing every day that are going to get done because your mind is in the right place because you've taken care of yourself in the morning. And so getting up an hour early doesn't mean racing through what your miracle morning is, or even skipping it completely and being like, oh, well, this is fine. I just have extra time to work. That's not what this is about. Again, it's about feeding your mind all of this good stuff so that you have something to give to other people who need you. It's really, that's what it's about. And so, and like I said, like for a while, I realized that's what I was doing. I was just kind of like racing through it and then I'd go work. And since I started re-implementing only doing this in the morning, I feel like my days are much clearer to me. Like I don't feel as scattered. I have, a very, I guess, it's very, everything's much more clear to me. I don't have as much anxiety about, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. I'm better able to really hone in and focus on what those really important things are, which to me right now is, supporting you guys on the team and inviting, and that's pretty much my focus right now, supporting my accountability groups. But those 3 things are where my focus is. So being really that, and my morning routine helps me maintain that clarity and that focus. And so just, remembering that it's it's about you and it's about what works for you. And so that being said, you don't have to implement all of these if they don't work for you. Give them all a try, but don't feel like just because somebody else does them that you have to do them too. If journaling doesn't work for you, that's fine. Drop it. I'm not saying don't try it. Do try it. But if you spend a couple of weeks and, you're doing this and you realize like, it's not happening, get rid of it. Don't keep it in there. Same with, they all have a reason, but even if you just do one or two of these things in the morning, you will have a much better chance of being a person who is really a much higher performing individual than if you were to sleep in, hit the snooze, roll out of bed when your kids call you in the morning. You're already feeling behind. You're already like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like, I don't have time to brush my teeth. You're racing around. It just helps kind of prepare you for the day. And, then you can help prepare everybody else in their lives, in their day. So, there was one more thing with visualization. These were some notes that I took from the webinar. So he was talking about, again, like visualization is one of those things that maybe kind of got a bad rap just because people weren't, it wasn't communicated well, I guess. And a lot of people kind of, I don't know, it's one of those things that people joke about. And it's like, you visualize what you want and, it's all very like touchy-feely. There's some moonbeams and rainbows. And, if you just wish for it enough, then it's all going to come to you. And part of that is true. Like, you do need to have a positive mindset and you do need to have clear goals. But the way that you get to it is more important. And so with visualization, rather than in just focusing on the end result, because when you just focus on the end result, something crazy happens in your brain. And so if your goal, say, for example, is to run a marathon, and you just continually visualize yourself, crossing the finish line, arms in the air, breaking through the ribbon, people cheering, throwing roses and whatnot. There comes a time when your mind actually says, cool, like I've already done this. There's no need to try that hard. And you don't want that to happen, because that takes away your motivation and your drive. And so a different way to do visualization is, yes, keep that in mind, keep your end goal in mind, but visualize the steps that you're going to be taking to get there, and then capture that emotion that you feel when you think about that end goal, and put that into, when you're doing your visualization, use that emotion and think about the emotion of how you're going to feel, and use the emotion versus just thinking about the end, if that makes sense. Maybe I'm not conveying that as well, but it's really, you need to focus on more so on how you're going to get there and how you're going to feel when you get there, and how you're going to feel during the process, and how you're going to feel when you at the end of, day 30, that you had a great day and you accomplished what you want to accomplish, and you feel productive and you feel, empowered to do it again the next day and the next day and the next day until you reach your goal. So it's more about the emotion behind your goals and your visions, and also like those really critical action steps. Like, you see yourself actually taking the steps to do it, versus just kind of arriving at a place. So I think that was a little better explanation. So that's what I do for my miracle morning. And truly, like, I feel it's completely changed how my mornings go, for sure, but also, how I feel throughout the day, and I feel like it's just really, really good practice. And again, I mean, people who like really high performing people, I mean, people, you know, the level of like Steve Jobs and, you know, names escape me, but um, people who are, you know, who is the guy that runs Tesla, Elon Musk, you know, a lot of these like super high powered Silicon Valley executives who just like, you know, they accomplish incredible, amazing things. You know, our own coaches, Melanie Mitro, she's got her own Miracle Morning routine. She did a really great podcast on it. People who really accomplish a lot, they have a morning routine. And I'm going to accomplish a lot, and I have a morning routine. So that is the topic for this evening. Questions, Kelsey? No questions. Okay. Okay. Well, any questions on this? And please, you know, feel free if when you're watching the replay, you know, comment in the question in the comments, and we'll see y'all next week.